Welcome everyone to another episode of Stu and Nunn. You got Stu here in the northern studio, New York, Nunn in the very southern studio, south of the border, where he's been the last couple weeks. How you doing, Toby?
I'm living the dream. South of the border, on the southern tip. When I think about my life, I've been on the southern tip of the Alaskan Panhandle, on the south side of that. I've been on the southern tip of Florida, and now I've been on the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula. I'm all about the tip.
I would say buy the website, just the tip, but I bet that's already bought.
Somebody's got it. But man, we got a great show tonight. We got our man Byron here, getting ready to lay down some knowledge on the Protector Nation and all the different things. Perhaps you've seen our guest tonight on the cover of Skill magazine, looking dapper. But our man is here, and without further ado, let's get to the founder of Protector Nation, Byron. What's up, my man?
Boom. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man? Thank you for having me. 100%.
Yeah. Go ahead, Toby.
No, I was just going to compliment, step and repeat. I feel like we should let the paparazzi come in, get some shots real fast. Get the look back, get forward, get the future,
get steal, you know what I'm saying?
Get a little bang in there. Yeah. No, I like the backdrop.
Yeah. That looks so much more professional than what we do. We're virtually.
I got cabinetry.
I'm honoring breast cancer awareness month. I was doing that in October, so I'm giving
for the boobies.
Shout out to the boobies.
And from my mom, who's two-time survivor. So got to give her
Yeah.
shots for that. But
congratulations, mama.
Yeah, Mom's the #1 fan of the show. She lets us know every episode what she liked and didn't like. So
especially my language. Especially my language.
Yeah, Byron is thirsty tonight. He is knocking down some H2O there. I think it may not be
H2O. Hydrated die, right?
That's
Hydrated die.
He always listened to his Corman. Corman said, "Change your socks, take Motrin, drink water, move out."
Right. That's it. It's literally always the same. But I'm bleeding, so change your socks. Take Motrin.
Army medic, Navy corpsman, doesn't matter. It's going to be the same guys. Right. So yeah, we're going to go. Let's talk a little bit about your career. We mentioned Marines, but give our listeners and viewers a little bit about kind of what you did as far as kind of what led you to the Marines and some of the things you did and what led you to where you are now.
Yeah, man. So what led me to the Marines was just, on a really deep level, now that I'm a little older, I can look back. My dad's a hard dude, man. Like my dad's like I still might have to shoot my dad. Like when we got into a fight, I still might have to be like, I'm gonna just shoot you, man. But he's a hard dude. He's a good dude, very successful entrepreneur in the Bahamas. Got shot at point blank range with a shotgun, survived. He had burns over 80% of his body at one time. He's just been through things and just monstrous work ethic. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I ever going to be a man in the eyes of my dad? I was raised by my mom, I'm just organically softer than this man. So I remember that was part of it. I was like, I want to get my manhood in a way that no one can challenge me. No one can take it away from me. They weren't there when I got the t-shirt. I want to go do something hard. So that was part of the motivation. I was like, well, if I go off to war, they ain't going to be able to tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that was part of it. I needed a masculine experience to validate, some of my masculinity, to be completely honest. And I wanted to be and I have 5 sisters. I was raised in a house full of women. Ooh. So I wanted to be in an environment where I could just be a stinking man. Like I could just tell dudes straight up, you don't like it, we go fight about it in the back of the squad bay. I wanted to be in a place where I could go as hard as I wanted to and as hard as I could and be actually appreciated, accepted, and required. And I also had a bit of a conviction and is like, man, I'm an able-bodied, athletic young man, played 6A football and I was, team captain, played Ironman ball for a big school. So I was like, you know what? this is kind of my duty, you know, like, what am I doing sitting here while people can't go fight? You know, someone's got to go fight. Like, who are the champions of the tribe? So I was like, nah, I got to go fight because this is my tribe. This is what we got to do. This is what I should do. So I went for a lot of people that couldn't. Someone's got to defend the country. And then I also played too many video games and watched Tears of the Sun, which just got me all about it. You know, that movie probably got a lot of us in there, dude.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, I went up to my recruiter and I was like, hey, I want it to be hard. I want it to be a challenge. I'm in the cafeteria talking to an Army recruiter. And I was like, I want to be enlisted and I want it to be something that everyone knows is challenging what I've done. What's the hardest thing I can enlist into? And the dude looked to the left, he looked to the right. He said, you should probably go to the Marine Corps. And I was like, thanks, dude. I was like, all right, thank you. And I went to the Marine Corps. And I was in
that was the one
infantry.
time that Army recruiter did not have a quota for infantry. He's like, damn it.
Right.
Let's see, air conditioned mechanic, truck driver, load, you know, crew chief. Yeah, go see the Marines.
Right. Yeah, seriously. He's like, this guy's gonna come find me after this if I don't steer him right. So yeah, dude. So I went to the Marine Corps infantry, did 2 deployments out to Iraq, got hit by about 5 IEDs. Got the t-shirts and all that, had a near-death experience with the last one where I got hit with 62 pounds of explosives directly. And then as I was getting out of the Marine Corps, I was like, well, what am I going to do? You know? So, you know, I asked, you know, my father, I started praying, I asked God, like, what am I going to do, dude? And he showed me the path into executive protection. And at 21, by the grace of God, ran into the right guy in the right place, right time, right relationships. Got on the biggest executive protection, highest traveling executive protection detail out of the United States. We hit more countries than the Secret Service this year. We hit about 60 countries, spent weeks in the sky. We added up the hours. It was insane. Did that on repeat for 7 years and then spun around into working just the California circuit. So I contracted myself out to all the major companies in Cali and worked every client demographic that the industry had to offer in Cali. And then I wanted to go back to the Bahamas and start my own security company with my, try to work with my dad, that whole thing. Went down there to Florida, rebuilt my books in the EP again, started chasing the pager, did that whole domestic contractor thing again, worked all the stuff they have down there. Then ultimately was like, yo, Cali's tight. Me and dad, we love each other, but I don't know if we're supposed to be business partners. So then I came back up to Cali and kept chasing the pager until finally I started my own business after I got enough, you know, heat in my books, enough weight in my books to start my own business. And by the grace of God, that's how I got into the EP game. And the rest is history. You know, I got a lot of brands since then, but that's how I got in the EP scene.
I feel like we should be playing like Tupac right now, like going back to Cali, going back to Cali.
Yeah,
no, like that's you know, it's interesting. Like, you know, Troy and I are both, you know, career infantry guys, and you know, it's always, you know, like, you know, part of you, you're like, I should probably be in this line of work, and then you know, you get to talk to somebody like, you know, I mess around, and here we go. The what was the turning point for you to go out on your own? What was the push? What was the push for you to be like, hey, I really want to go as an entrepreneur. I have this, you know, let me get my British accent going, my Liam Neeson, like, I have a very special set of skills.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like, and that, you know, gets you going and, you know, to become an entrepreneur. You know, that signing your hand, raising your hand, signing your name, that's a really, you know, like you said, you had a personal conviction, easy decision to make, right? It made sense. As a result of that, you get the opportunity to go to war, which obviously comes with, you know, confliction. It comes with, you know, fear. It comes with, you know, trepidation. It comes with excitement. You know, it comes with all these, you know, emotions. But being an entrepreneur, like, that's a huge leap of faith. Like, it's different because, like, you're like, most people don't understand. Like, it's not a big deal to be reckless with your body.
Right.
It's not.
That's funny.
It's not.
True.
But it's extremely scary to be risky with your finances.
Yeah.
It is a completely different fear. And it's like, and it's, I mean, I'm feeling that fear today.
Right now. Fear never goes away. Yeah.
But like, what was it that made you make that jump?
It was two things. One, when I was with my first client, like I said, we were gone all the time. Come back to Cali, 8-hour turnaround, run into a dry cleaner, hold the place at gunpoint, and be like, you need to get me my suit in 1 hour. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to dry clean the suit, get it back to me in 1 hour. I got to get back to the tarmac. Like, it was just so crazy. And I was down with it because I came from the Marine Corps. So I was like, I'm used to working like I'm in a sweatshop. I'm like, hey, we get food and we get to sleep in warm beds. This is so awesome. We make money, but I realized really early, because I was being yanked around and I was living this life, like the client was just controlling my life so much that I was like, this is not it. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be controlled like this my entire life. So after like the first few years of that, I started to really be like, I had a realization, the difference between power and strength. And I realized that strength brought me to a certain level in my career, but I had to learn how to generate power. And that had way more to do with my mind and the way I spent my time and my money and my intellect. And so I really started to look for entrepreneurial endeavors. And I started a number of different companies while I was working for that client that failed. I put myself through my associate's and bachelor's degree while I was working with that client. Eventually I got my master's, which was big for me because I hated school. I still hate school, but at least I did that. So I can be like, I at least did it, but I had that realization that like, I'm not going to live my life and miss everything because I am a slave to this structure of being an employee. And then I really started, I got into network marketing companies. I did everything. Fortunately, I've been pretty fearless when it comes to a lot of things. And so I was able to step into a lot. And then ultimately, I had a client that was like, hey, look, we're parting ways with our current service provider, and we want you to be our new service provider. And we will put you in business. And that was like the training wheels I needed to be like, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're going ahead. We're going to figure out we're going to die trying. So then that's kind of really, I had the training wheels on for the first year or so. And that's really what did it. That's really what did it. I think what a lot of dudes do wrong in this industry when they want to go out by themselves is they're like, I'm going to start a security company because I know how to do security and I can do this. It's like, dude.
But do you? But do you
really?
So that client,
knowing how to do security.
That client gave you the top cover to give you a little bit of comfort where you could take some risk, do some things, kind of figure it out. They believed in you enough, or stuff that they were willing to. That's really. Do you feel like that's what gave you that break, or the ability to step out a little bit at risk, but not too much at risk? Like you weren't putting it all out there.
Yeah, like that gave me the like, this is your moment. But all the failed business attempts leading up to that gave me so many tools, and they continue to pay off as I'm like, I have an edge on my marketing in this space, and I have an edge on different things I can do online that I learned by trying to start like a number of different internet businesses and things like that. So like not a single lesson was wasted, and I had the mind and the will. And then that top cover really just made it like, yo, this is the moment, let's do it. And actually the executive protection business model was much simpler than, trying to start the online businesses and different things that I tried to do in the past. So I was like, oh, sweet. This was like low hanging fruit, by the time that hit me.
Yeah. You hit right on something. I may have said it on here on the show, and I've said it in my work and stuff, is that we learn from our mistakes. We learn from our failures. We never learn from what goes right. Because there's nothing to learn, right? It's like, I did that great. That's great. Well, you don't walk away from that going, I'm going to keep doing that. You walk away from things going, I will never make that mistake again. I will never take that path when I come to that fork in the road. I will always, that's truly what shapes us. It's always the pain. It's never the comfort, right?
100% necessary.
Yeah, it's like what is Cesar Gracie? There are no losses. There's only lessons. Like that. That mentality, when you said, that you failed countless times, everyone forgets, right? I think William Shatner went to the moon today, right? Or went into space today.
Went into space, yeah.
Jeff, how many things did Jeff Bezos fuck up before he like put a phallic symbol into space?
A 90-year-old, with a 90-year-old man in it, right?
Yeah,
right.
like like how many times, like I have a little thing. It's not on my desk here, but in my office in Texas, it's Thomas Edison, learned 1,000 ways how not to make the light bulb.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers him for making the light bulb, but he learned 1,000 lessons on how not to do it. And people do not understand. Like they just think you start a business and then boom, you're like instant success. No, right. Like I failed at 3 or 4 businesses before, like I, found my rhythm and, and found, what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And man, it's like so many people skip over that because, they don't want to tell that story. They feel like, oh no, like people don't need to know that I failed. No, they absolutely do.
They absolutely do.
They absolutely need to know that you failed. Like
so important.
Yeah.
And my story, I always say it is sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Someone asked me with one of my symposiums, they're like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if you fail? I'm like, man, it built this like psychological armor that I've carried with me, through all those things. It's like, what do you mean if I fail? I was like, if I fail, I'll learn everything I need to know to be 100 more dangerous the next time I go around. Not to mention, this is one move in like a 6-move combo I'm trying to execute by the end of the year. So if this fails, I'm just going to press into the next one better and smarter and more evolved. There's no losing for me. It's like mental alchemy. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and then I keep going. Right. So that's the mentality, man. I agree with you all 100%.
Yeah. So I mean, you going from Marine Corps infantry now. How long were you in the Corps for?
4 years.
4 years.
2 pumps in Iraq. Yes,
right.
sir.
So got like squad leader doing that. I mean, that transition from that to executive security. Obviously, like we have been talking about, a lot of things jump between there. What came out? Who's the inspiration, or what was it? Was there someone or something that said, "Hey, give this a try"? Because there's obviously the world is your oyster, in the famous quote. You could have done a lot of things. What trigger did you have that said, give this, take the skills, take the individual and collective and the skills you've learned in the Marine Corps and a couple of combat tours and turn that into protecting principles around the globe, right? Was there anything particular, one person or incident?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just real spiritual. So like I was just chilling and I was like, well, I know how to hold a gun. That's what I know how to do. So I'm either going to be a cop, I'm going to be a contractor. And I started looking into those things. And then I was like, scared because I was getting out of the military and I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to survive. And then I was praying one day and, there had been a few times where I believe I heard the voice of God. One of the times I saved my entire family's life when I was 4 years old. The next couple of times we were in Iraq and I survived because, God told me not to zig when I needed to, and I zigged instead of zagged when I made the right move. And I was standing on top of 2 155 anti-tank shells, didn't realize it, that were tamped and ready to go. But that last time he just said, hey, go to this bar, be a bouncer. You're going to become a bodyguard. You're going to travel the world. And I was like, cool. And then I said something really Jesus-y to my girlfriend at the time. I didn't realize it, but she was like, yeah, you heard a voice that told you to go do this. And I was like, yeah, I did. And she was like, yeah, whatever. Because she didn't want me to be a bouncer. Come on. Yeah. Like, she was like, she knew that was the end for her. Right. So I was like,
you're holding the VIP line for all these hot chicks coming in, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm checking IDs. Come on in, girl.
My girlfriend's inside. A lot of girlfriends are inside there.
Right. So yeah, man, once God told me, and told me, hey, go here, do this. You're going to be this. I went, I bounced for 3 months. I was clearing a table for some dudes. And all of a sudden one of them was like, hey, he said, what do you do? You're a Marine? I was like, yep. He's like, you got combat experience? I was like, yep. He's like, go get these 2 permits. I'll show you how to make a lot more money doing what you're doing. I said, Roger that. I went, got the permits, hit him back in a week or 2. He said, all right, go here for this interview. And next thing you know, I'm doing my interview on Rodeo Drive in this jewelry store, riding around the back of a Bentley, like, wow. And then boom, I'm international and I'm learning how to drink out of a fire hose at 21, on one of the most infamous details out here in the OC. And, when they say I didn't choose the game chose me. Like with me, that's like what happened, by the grace of God, man.
Yeah,
Jesus
you were
Christ.
blessed. You felt right. I mean, bringing the right skills, like say, right place, right time, right relationships.
Yeah. And then I realized how tremendous the fit was for me. That's when I was like, yo, I get to stay sharp, I get to stay dangerous, I get to travel the world, and like this hyper vigilance I have from combat is actually productive here. And that's when I really started to dig it. First few years were rough, but I really valued being able to stay dangerous and be a warrior, you know.
Has there been a time at all during all this that you had a pause where you maybe thought, okay, maybe this wasn't the right thing, or maybe whether it's a situation you find yourself in, like like you do in combat sometimes, hunkered behind something as noises are snapping over and you're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Man, no, there's plenty of moments like that, because there's a transition, especially for military.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Bless you. Especially for military.
I am.
Yeah, right. To go from being a warlord to a guardian. I talk about it in my training quite a bit, because that cognitive dissonance that can result from being like, yo, like I had millions of dollars of equipment at my fingertips. The Rambo speech, like I held life and death in my hands. And now I'm over here getting this dude's Grey Poupon in the back of this jet again. Like, and I'm getting yelled at over like his coffee's too hot, like what in the world? I've killed people for less, disrespect, like. So there's this cognitive dissonance that a lot of military guys go through. And I went through it, man, when I was just like, I don't want to be this dude's guard dog forever and like just be the help, and I got through that by really counting my blessings and changing my attitude and being like, hey, this is an honorable service. In every fighting force and military since the beginning of time, every army, there's a higher level of training, and there's a special Praetorian Guard type individual who's protecting the nobility of the time. Like, being a protector is a noble and honorable thing, and you do have to understand servanthood, and you do have to understand service. And so it helped me with my come down from the Marine Corps, because I was like a dopamine addict. Like, I used to go crazy on the weekends, not even on the weekends, every single night for the first couple of years when I got out. That was my form of PTSD. But there were a lot of moments where I was missing dates I wanted to be home for, and when I had clients that I could just snap in half in 2 seconds, like disrespecting me because they couldn't manage their emotions, but they happened to have the power in the structure that I was in. And then I learned how to kind of protect myself from that by perceptual empowerment, changing my mind so that I was stabilized, and changing my life, because their dollars funded what I have now and what I've been created now. Their dollars funded my escape route, my little spoon in my prison cell I've been digging my way out of for a long time.
Yeah. And then, a necessary evil, but like I say, you saw you just took those dollars, took that time, learned from it, and then used that to eventually build something, and not just live in the moment, right? So it sounds like to me, it sounds like you didn't just like enjoy the champagne and private G6s and everything else, and just took from all that, invested it, saved it, and then saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
That's the game, dude. Got to find your new fight. For all the veterans listening, that's how you stay alive. If you're a warrior and you don't have a war, you can very easily lose purpose. And anything in that room that you're in, that you look around, it's all got purpose. If you can't find a purpose for it, you're going to misuse it, abuse it, throw it away. That's what you're going to do. And that's what people do with their lives when they don't have purpose. So I found a purpose, and no matter what clients did, I was like, okay, cool. Thank you. Pay me. I'll be here tomorrow. and I just kept on hammering on my new war, the new battle that I was in. And I approach every day like it's a war. I approach going after my dreams like it's a war. Like, I went hard for the Marine Corps. Now I wake up at 4 a.m. to go hard for what my destiny is in this world, So that's how I keep that warrior alive, man. This is all out combat, to unlock potential.
I can see why you do training. I can see why you do training and why you do speaking and motivational speeches and stuff like that. You're very good at it for sure. But go ahead, Toby. I want to get into training, but go ahead.
No, I mean, like, purpose and passion makes, for strange bedfellows, right? And, like you said, you might not always agree, but you're like, hey, if that's, meeting the ends means, like, send it.
Yep, like, I can take it.
what a cool genesis to the Protector Nation. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, so you do the trainings, kind of how, you got the executive production training days and that kind of stuff. What kind of people are coming through your trainings? What kind of people do you recruit in? Do they find you? Are you training up new folks coming out of the military getting into that executive protection kind of stuff, or are you just working with existing groups? Do you work with law enforcement agencies? Just what kind of folks do you train?
Yeah, man. So if we're talking about my school, my executive protection school, training day is the first, like the bachelor's degree within the school, which is the League of Executive Protection Specialists, right? So training day is like everything I know about executive protection, everything I've learned, 100 field notes. I stay on, I coach with everyone bi-monthly. I actually am going to go and meet with my class right after this online, Zoom, all around the world. It's awesome. And I make sure they get what they want out of their careers. I make sure they achieve success. I stay with them, throughout their careers and coach with them and stuff. So that is open to everyone. I think that executive protection is a beautiful industry to get involved in right after the military for all the reasons that it was for me. You get to live at the king's table, and you get to also keep your warriorhood strong. As long as you have the right mindset going into it. It is service related industry. You are going from warlord to guardian is a big difference. But so I love it when military folks come through. I love it when retired law enforcement folks come through. They have some of the training out of the way. I love it when civilians come in. They're like, can I do this? I'm like, yeah, some of the best guys in the industry are just civilians, because they don't come from a pedigree that makes them think they've already done it and they're already too cool for school. The civilians are dangerous because they stay training and they stay being like, I need to prove myself today, right now. So I work with all types with my school, and that's one side. So my mission really is to make the world a safer place by helping good people become more dangerous. So whether it's making higher quality executive protection folks with the school and the podcast and that stuff, or on the civilian side, I have the Protector Nation, which is open to anyone, professional protectors, as well as first responders, military, as well as civilians who are like, you know what, I think I need to learn how to protect my stuff, and that is awesome. So I have military folks, law enforcement folks, civilians, women come out there. Our last event, Protector Symposium 4.0, was life-changing, man. I mean, so many people were touched and really learned what it took to protect somebody. We do 1 day soft skills in the auditorium. We do 2 days at the range or in the mats, and we train and learn from the best in the world on the art of protection. Soft skills and hard skills. Soft skills are important. People be skipping over that, and it's an honor to be able to bring that stuff to the public, man.
You've done a really good job of managing and promoting you as a brand as well. Like, I mean, you got, your great suit shots, magazine covers, some really good press out there. How did, like, with such a niche kind of market, like this is, it's exceptionally niche, right?
Absolutely.
Like, how did you like crack the code on that marketing? Like, was it someone that like mentored you? Someone said, hey, you should try, you should talk to, you should investigate? Or did you just start like throwing spaghetti at the wall and being like, let's just see who wants to take my picture and write a story about me?
It's interesting. It's a mixture because I was in pain by being so controlled by the industry and the way it works and not having my life or my time to myself. It caused me to go into hyperdrive in terms of trying to figure out something. Like, I need to figure something out to generate enough wealth to have freedom and power to live my life the way I want. So that's why I tried all these different types of businesses and doing all these different things. So there's a lot of that struggle, which was really good. That's why I never rescue someone if they're in pain. I'm always like, you got to find your way out, dog. That's the whole point of this thing. And I'm like, and that's love. I know you're mad, but that's love. All right, you got like 10 more miles to go, homie. But that's, so a lot of it was me just scrapping and realizing I needed to create something out of nothing, and then realizing I'm not that cool. So like, I'm just a Marine Corps infantryman, you know what I'm saying? So there's all these like Delta Force guys and like Navy SEALs and all these dudes in the trainer space that are like ultra high speed and got all the like cool guys, shiny cool guy stuff. So I was like, how can I create something of value? It can't be about me. I'm just like, not that cool. So that's when I started to be like, hey, I need to figure out how to leverage all of these things and all these people in one place. And that's where the Protector Nation essentially came from. The other side of that, for the EP game, everyone in EP was so busy acting like they were so cool. Like it was like the silent professional. Don't talk about what you do. hush. Like when I came in the game, there was like nothing on, there was not much you could find on it, you know, even online. And I was like, I think I'm gonna start a podcast. And everybody was like, no, you can't talk about what we do, man. It's like ninja stuff. And I'm just like, guys, like we can talk about what we do. It's not that crazy. I'm like, just don't talk about anything sensitive, you know? And everyone's like, no one's gonna work with you ever. You're gonna be blackballed from the industry. And I'm like, I just want there to be information for people to do better at this job so we don't all get looked at like clowns. And then finally I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then I just went out, started the podcast by the grace of God. And then the podcast blew up and dominated the space. And then from there, I was like sitting there one day and I got that little whisper like, yo, let's make a live event. And then I was like, I think I'm gonna do a live event. And everyone was like, no, don't do a live event. You've never done that before. It's gonna be scary and horrible. And then I started doing it. And now we're at Protector Symposium 5.0. We went on tour this last year. And we're killing the whole entire game, man. You know,
Love
it was very interesting. A mixture of my guiding, you know, grace of God, and then me just having enough balls for him to be like, go out there. And I'm like, all right, I'll go out there.
So you talked about that. You talked about the Fight Club. You broke that. You broke that rule to them. So the symposium, you said you were on tour. What are you doing on that? What's the symposium about? What kind of events do you cover, and what kind of people come to it?
Yeah, man. So the Protector Symposium, it's a unique event. There's nothing else like it in the space. I usually bring together about 5 or 6 different instructors. Sometimes it's been as many as 7 guys from the top of the game. You know, Craig Douglas, Mike Pannone, Tony Seminot, Jared Wahungi, like, you know, Tom Kyer, Tony Blauer, Ed Calderon. These guys, I bring them into one space. And you get to learn the ology behind what they do. You know, you get to learn behavioral profiling from, you know, Yusuf Badu, who teaches all the top agencies. You get to learn how to fight around a car from Mike Pannone, who teaches all the top agencies. You get to learn these skills from these guys in the auditorium, because personal protection isn't necessarily all about the dojo and the range. So much of it has to do with the software you're running. You know, we have a saying at the league at my school, rookies spend money on hardware, professionals spend money on software. So we spend one whole day upgrading the software. How do you live a safer pattern of life, you know? And then we go out to the range and we bang and people get jammed up, and it's so good. And then you really learn what it takes and what you have on that day and how you need to improve, and you learn from some of the best. And that event, man, I've had, you know, single moms come to that event and just get their minds blown, because instructors are so high quality. Anyone can come to that event. Like this last course we did with Craig Douglas, fighting inside of a vehicle, learn how to gunfight inside of your vehicle. I think every woman on the planet should take that course, because what do we see when we drive through the parking lot? 90% of attacks happen in transitional spaces while you're going from one safe place to the next, your work to your car, your drive home, the gas station, right? Because when I post those tactical protection reviews, they're always in transitional spaces, right? So, you know, he taught all of us how to fight. The whole event was around how to deal with transitional spaces and how to navigate those safely and effectively, and if need be, how to gunfight in those spaces, how to car fight, which a little bit of car fighting goes a long way. Once you know how to fight in a car, man, it's like a superpower. Like, you know, so we had everyone go through that. And this next year, I'm deciding what kind of tour I'm looking at. I might do an international thing, got some international invites. We'll always have one really big event in the US, and then we'll go out to wherever we're going to go as well. But military, law enforcement, and responsible civilians, we're all joined by the one common value of realizing that protection is the one skill we have that protects every right that we think or we want to have.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Trey. No, go ahead.
No, it's, you know, we forget when we think about like Maslow's hierarchy that, you know, survival and security is like the very first rung, and we get very comfortable thinking that we've achieved that, and we all think that, oh, you know, like I'm up near the top, you know, working on like self-actualization, you know, like no, you know, we talked, you know, off the air, you know, prior to the show, but you know, I'm learning that you know, I'm still down on the bottom rung, even though I like might not be in that situation financially, or I might not be in that situation in relationships. But like in reality, you're never that far away from the bottom rung.
And like, no, your life goes like this. Even getting out of the military, you climb that thing. You got your food, water, shelter. You got your social. You got all your validation. You're all the way up the top. Then when you retire, get out of the military, whatever life thing happens, you find yourself having to start at the bottom again.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what my book's about too. It's about change, and transition.
Yeah, no, and like, and you know, you're one bag of groceries away from getting jacked. You know, like,
yeah, man.
You know, and you forget like those transitional spaces. You forget like how vulnerable you actually are in the community. You forget, you know, that the information that you broadcast, you know, just with your vehicle, you know, the type of bumper sticker, you know, your stick figure family, like my kid's on honor roll at blah, blah, blah school. Like, you know, all these little things you don't think about that, you know, you're 1 second away from being back at the bottom of the rung and having to fight for it.
Yeah, that shows how demented we are, right, Toby? You know my youngest son. Sorry, you know my youngest son. When he was in middle school, we would drive around. He'd see the stick figure family. He's like, "Look, Dad, you only have to kill 3 people in that family to get the mom and dad." I'm like, "You should not be thinking that way." He's like, "Dad, they put everyone on their car." He's like, "Look,
That's
Dad."
my boy.
He's like,
"That's my boy."
He's like, "A single mom, a dog, and 2 little kids." He goes, "That one's easy." Like, why do they do that? I'm like, "I don't know, son."
Soft target. Yeah.
I'm like, but you shouldn't
never
think
know
that way.
whose son's looking at your bumper stickers.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But no, real quick though, I want to ask. You brought up something. The when you mentioned the grocery bag, it made me think of something. When we look at this last year, we Toby and I think a lot of the same way. We are involved in a number of events and have in our lives, and I think about like I just think of the situation of the curbside, the curbside pickup stuff now, right? So someone pulls into a grocery store, pops their trunk open, and just waits. You know, what stops someone coming out with a bag and just walk up to that car like, "I've got your groceries," and just be right on top of the person? I mean, I gotta imagine that there's, you know, we used to say all the time in Afghanistan, we're so lucky the enemy is so dumb and not, you know, is not near as smart as us, because they would just roll us up. But I gotta imagine and wonder if, you know, any criminals out there have started to take advantage of the whole curbside check-in or curbside pickup and all that kind of stuff that we see at stores now. It's common. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Have you run into that, or have you thought of, have you given it any thought, or have you seen any stats on that of those kind of things happening?
I haven't seen anything on that, and I get sent videos all the time. So hopefully those guys don't watch this podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
And get
only good people. Good people.
Only good. But the main thing is, like, guys, you know, like when it comes to protection, and this is a lot of my law enforcement guys, and even think you see in other countries, battle space is evolving so quickly now that everyone has access to so much high quality information. You get online, you can learn how to do anything, you know, and we got cartel dudes doing drone attacks, and there's all kinds of crazy. We got a stalker that found a client by looking at the reflection in the pupils of her eyes to figure out where she was, and assaulted her in her parking lot. A Korean pop star, look it up. Like, and now you've got the digital age. If you don't know how to move in the digital age and you do something stupid like talk about how you're going on vacation, and someone just looks at all the stuff you have in your house that you were showing off like last month, and then, "Oh, we're going to visit Mykonos." Like, okay, cool. You come home to an empty house. You know, this the world battle space enemies. The days of thinking you're gonna fight some dude shooting a gun like this in 7-Eleven that doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe. Or maybe some dude who played airsoft a whole lot when he's little and he's running through there and smoking everybody.
For real.
Or a veteran, or you know, nowadays criminals are way more sophisticated.
Well, between social engineering, geotagging, and everything else, right? Like I say, you can just walk around and pick up everyone, you know, putting their whatever snaps or Instagrams or anything up and figure out where they are. There's plenty of cases of that, but it just, like, you know, like I say, when you talked about it, it made me think of, you know, if a person goes in their car in a parking lot, right, they kind of look, and if they're kind of aware, they got their key ready, they get in their car, lock their doors. But if they're sitting in a parking lot 6-7 lanes out, because that's how many curbside pickups there are, and they're sitting there with their trunk open and their window down so they can talk to the person, they are prime for the picking right there.
Right.
And it may be something to think about. And it really just popped in my head when you mentioned the grocery bag away. Of just because I continue to drive through stores and see cars sitting out there with their trunks up, ready to go.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Like I think everyone sees these like meat eaters that we learn from, or they see dudes that are like jacked or whatever, and they're like, oh, that guy's a protector. It's like, no, no, no. This is why I focus on the soft skills, because what you're talking about is living a safer pattern of life. It's like having enough awareness to be able to live a safer pattern of life. You don't have to go to the dojo for 10 years to do that. That's why I do those tactical protection reviews all the time, where I go through and I talk about real world violence and I show people like, look, this can be avoided if you implement this skill, or you do this, or you think this way, or you move this way, and try to help people's software be upgraded, and that's another reason why every symposium is recorded, so people can watch them, afterwards, and still get those downloads, still get that software, because that stuff's what the world really needs, man, because not everyone has time to be like us and go train and do crazy stuff. And a lot of good people are living a normal life, and a lot of bad people are doing bad things all the time. It's their way of life.
Right.
That's why I say protection is more than just a job. It's a lifestyle,
Yeah. It's
Agreed.
It's funny when mid 2000s I came back from Afghanistan the last time, everybody was like, oh, you're hyper vigilant, you shouldn't have to have a gun with you all the time, you don't need to always carry a pistol, right? And it's like in just a couple of years we went from hyper vigilance being a bad thing to hyper vigilance being the way everyone should be living, especially because of what we've seen in the last couple of years, right? The releasing of criminals, in New York here, bail reform, where they don't even, there's a long list of crimes that people don't even get arrested for anymore. And it's like,
Cali, man.
yeah, so yeah, that's the other liberal shithole like New York, and
Right.
it's this concept of hypervigilance, which was looked down upon like, oh, you have issues, you just got back from combat, you shouldn't feel like you have to drive down the middle of the road and carry a piece with you all the time. To now, it's like, if you don't, it's like you're a fool. Like, why would you not? Because you see this lady in New York City get pushed down in Times Square in an afternoon and crack her head open, and now she's dead, right? This accomplished doctor. You see people getting robbed and shot all the time. It's not in a back alley. It's not at 2 a.m. It's in the middle of the day, no matter where you're at.
Yep.
Right.
100%, man. And that's what adds so much weight to what I'm trying to do in the world. That's for me. That's what adds so much conviction. It's like, if I can multiply the skills and the intellect and the tactics and the software that I use for the 1% of the 1%, so that every person can move that way and live that way and recognize those things. It's like making the world a safer place by helping good people become more dangerous seems like a righteous enough thing for me to really lean into.
Right.
And like, to your point, I posted like 2 videos the other day. It was like just random. One lady just walks up and tries to push someone in front of a train in the subway.
Right.
And this other lady just walks up, broad daylight, mom's holding her kid's hand. It's not like the mom was doing anything wrong. The lady just walks up and pushes some 3-year-old girl on the ground. Another one, dude just gets out of a car, runs across the street and tries to kidnap this kid from his mom in broad daylight. The kid's like right in front of the mom. They're in the middle of the city. So I'm like, the battlefield's changing, and we have to evolve with it. And it can happen anywhere, anytime, any place. If you're not knowing how to be aware or be on your guard or how to defend yourself, you can be a victim.
Yeah, it's sad that so many people need to practice situational awareness now, but it's that's just the way our life is, right? There's a lot of things that are in our culture today that when we were kids were never even thought about, right? It wasn't even that 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't even thought about, right?
Values have changed.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned you got your series, you got your training, but you also mentioned you have a book. Where can people find your book, and what kind of stuff's in the book if they can't get to a training right away? Is it get them a jump start or?
Yeah, man. Well, so on the training, you can go to protectorsymposium.com and download all the Protector Symposium library at any time. I keep that stuff there for you guys. On the book, my book, Finding Meaning After the Military, was the book I wrote. And I wrote it after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I started realizing that my dudes were tapping out, and I lost more guys from the 1st Civilian Division, the war here, than I ever lost in combat. And so my brain started really trying to be like, well, geez, man, like, I'm a squad leader. Like, I guess the war's not over. Like, I need to do something. So really, the book is all about the mind wear that I used in order to transition, into a relatively successful spot, and how other people can do it. It's really a book about transition for everyone. But it's definitely, catered towards the military, because that was my experience and how I was able to find my new fight, lean into that new fight, have a reason for living, have a way to still respect myself despite all the awesome things I did in the military. And, that quote, PTSD is realizing you'll never be that legit ever again, right? How to live with that and how to flip that dynamic on its head, and how to fight the atrophy of identity. When you get out and you look in the mirror, you're like, man, am I still that guy at all? I think that has a huge role in dudes that end up tapping out, so I tackle a lot of those things. Viktor Frankl's my favorite psychotherapist, and he talks about logotherapy, purpose-driven therapy, and that has a heavy influence in that book, because I can go on a rabbit hole with that, but I believe that we're purpose-creating machines, man. If we're not doing that, if you're not growing, you're going, man, and it's slow, but it happens long before you kill yourself.
Yeah, awesome. And do you have that on Amazon, or is that on your website on Byron Rodgers Motivation, or where can they find the book?
Yeah, you can find it on my website, byronrodgersmotivation.com, or you can find it you can just Google it and find it on Amazon as well.
Okay, awesome.
Sir.
Well, hey, man, you've given us a lot of good time. Is there anything you wanted that we didn't ask about or you want us to cover before we let you go?
For me, it's just letting people know where to find a lot of the free things I've created, that just can really help people's lives get better. From the tactical protection reviews, it's a playlist I have on my YouTube channel, or on my Instagram. You'll see them pop up there, where we go over actual real world violence and how you can survive those altercations. And then my podcast, Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast and Protect Your Nation Podcast. And, that stuff, it's all about being a protector, and being a protector is the one thing that is the right that protects and the capability that protects everything we know and love. And then if you guys are thinking about getting into the executive protection industry, at that same website, you'll see stuff for the league and for training day and stuff like that. And then, yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, Toby, you got anything else before we let Byron go? We don't keep him all night.
No,
we know he's got
I appreciate taking the time, and, sharing with us the genesis of this program and the history that built it. It's amazing, when you were telling the story at the beginning about, what motivated you. I remember thinking to myself, like, how can I test my salt? And, like, if you're a person that has ever asked yourself that question, well, these are the kind of places you should probably continue to look, because if you ask that question once, you should probably be asking it again. So, Byron, thanks for taking the time to join us. It's always a pleasure to have fellow infantry guys on. That doesn't happen all the time.
And veteranpreneurs, right? Veterans that get out.
Veteranpreneurs,
get out and start a whole new path, for sure.
Yeah. We don't know, we have a broad spectrum of guests, but the last couple have been infantry, so it's been good with Rocco last week and you this week, so it's been awesome. So much love. The sky's blue because God loves the infantry.
That's right.
And
I love it.
But awesome.
So
man.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Byron. And we'll be keeping an eye. We'll make sure we post all the links, and we'll get you the links for the show, and we'll get them up during the chat and all that. And please stay in touch as you get more things, develop new training programs or anything like that. Man, we'd love to have. I know you got your own podcast, and they can definitely find that on your website. But if you ever want to come back on and promote, or you get another book out or anything, definitely let us know. We'd love to have you back on.
Holla at your boys.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, you guys. It's such an honor to be here with you guys. It's been a great conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You have a great night.
All right,
Thanks,
y'all.
All right, thank you. That was great, Byron. Byron Rodgers, everyone. Hope you go check him out. Check out his website. Rob's going to put up all the links and everything like that. Just what an awesome dude who's taken, 4 years in the infantry and
parlayed. He parlayed it into something.
Yeah, and he hit on a lot of the same things so many of our veteranpreneurs talk about, right? And you've talked about, personally, right, Toby, is just hey, you fail a few times, you fall down a few times, and each time that makes you that much better. So, anyways, talking of failing, let's hit on a couple current events here.
All right, let's go.
And topics here. So today, Toby, the administration came out. They're getting beat up, right? We got all these trucks, all these boats out of Long Beach and everywhere and all the coast, and they can't offload.
A bunch of my gear sitting on one of them boats.
Yeah, they're just stacked up, right? Anchors are ripping across oil pipelines and spilling oil, and all kind of stuff's happening. And Jen Psaki was up talking today. She got beat up on what is they going to do, because they're saying Santa Claus is not coming, Christmas gifts can't come. Start ordering now because there's no way that you're going to get everything. And media from all sides, left, right, or whatever, beating them up. And she literally said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I mean someone can correct me, but pretty much she said on spot that that the press would have to go talk to. She said, you need to go talk to UPS. You need to go talk to FedEx, or you need to go talk to the Postal Service. We're the government. We're not that. We're not them. And it was like, wait, what? It's like, no, you are the Postal Service. They're like part of the government. I know you didn't force them to get vaccines. They're the only part of the government that did not get vaccines, that aren't forced to get vaccines because they have a good union, but they are part of the government. And
yeah, wasn't it like a talking point? I don't know, say this time last year, this time last year, wasn't the Postal Service a talking point?
Yeah.
Like didn't the Postmaster General or whatever have to report in front of Congress because of funding and lack of funding, and the accusation that Trump was concerned about the fact that they're a failing business practice within the United States government.
Doesn't the government mandate?
Wasn't that a whole election talking point for the? Can't
the government force private companies to fly troops, stop making whatever they make to make ventilators and make masks and all that stuff? That National Defense Act or whatever that act is, right? They do it all the time. Can't they make, hey, UPS and FedEx, make sure you only bring Christmas gifts? I mean, I don't know what they could do, but, the bottom line is those are private companies, and the libertarian part of me says they should not do that, should not force their will on top of private companies. But the U.S. Postal Service is not a private company. You may call them pseudo-government, right, but because they are kind of a for-profit, but lately they've not been. They've been a bleeding profit kind of company. But it just shows how disconnected the administration is from that to having to hire child actors to star in a video with Kamala Harris where she's talking to kids, and now it's out that and I don't know if you caught all that from the last couple of days, but she did this video for YouTube Kids for NASA, and the kids weren't even real kids; they were child actors that had to try out and to get hired, and then they paid a Canadian company to produce the video. They couldn't give the jobs to American. And the best part is the name of the name of the Canadian company, production company, is Sinking Ships Production Company. Sinking Ships Production Company. It's like it kept getting better. It's like, so the Kamala's not at the border. She's not at the ports. She's doing a video for NASA where tax dollars are paying child actors to act like children who care, right? That's the think about that. They're paying child actors to sit in a room with her while she talks about the moon and all that stuff, and they don't even hire an American company, and when they do, they hire a company called Sinking Ships Productions. It's like,
well,
go ahead.
on behalf of Canada, I'd like to say thank you for the business. But one of the things that cracks me up is this is the same administration that's on part 2, Obama 2.0, right? So Obama 2.0, let's not forget that they hired a Canadian company to do the failed rollout of the Affordable Care Act website. Yes, and all that. They constantly outsource the stuff to non-American companies, which now you want to know why there's so many boats jammed up, sitting off of Long Beach, sitting off the ports of Houston, sitting off the ports on the East Coast. Well, that's because this administration doesn't want to do things internally, right? And so much so that they won't even do their own PR internally. They won't do the most important thing, the legacy of the president of Barack Obama was the Affordable Care Act, and it was an abysmal failure at launch. And they outsourced it to a non-American company. We are the tech leaders of the world, allegedly.
Right.
And like, why wouldn't you do it?
I mean, you got Pete Buttigieg as the Department of Secretary of Transportation. Where's he been? Right. Tom Cotton said it best today. Tom Cotton said he couldn't organize a one-car funeral. I mean, that was the best line. That was the Senator Kennedy line, right? It was like, he's the Secretary of Transportation. He hasn't been anywhere except getting his bike out of the back of a car to ride it, make it look like he's riding a bike. You haven't heard of him, right? And you haven't heard really much from the president, except when he gets on and reads off or whatever from his studio in the basement of the Eisenhower building. But to sit there and say these things like they did today and all that, I mean, I can't believe what news you would watch. And this goes right along with, you got Obama, who is going to campaign with McAuliffe in Virginia, because McAuliffe is running for governor, right, to try to get back in there as governor, has said nobody likes Joe Biden, right? On a Democrat Virginia DNC call, he said no one likes him. That dude's sinking our numbers. So they got Barack Obama coming in to help campaign so he can win a governorship. I mean, this guy is becoming a lightning rod with an approval rate of 38%. 38%. Right? 10 months in. He had a senior staffer resign today already at 10 months in. Toby, I know some people watching this think, oh, it's all you guys do now is bash on Biden. I'm sorry. I mean, it is what it is, right? If he's given us the material, if he's not doing well, and you can't, all the people over the first 6 months of his campaign who just, all they did is love to put up how much they loved him and how great he was, are very, very quiet, right? No one is coming to this cat's defense, because anyone with, they can put their partisanship aside. You look at what he's doing to this country, it's got to be scaring everyone of what the hell the next 3 years are going to bring, because we're not even a year in. We haven't hit the first State of the Union yet. So, I don't
know if we're going to get one. But
if we do, it's going to be at 3:00 in the afternoon, because he's past his bedtime. But
he's got to go to bed.
Yeah. So, anyways, a lot of stuff going on there. It's never ending content going on, and I'm glad you're safe and doing well down there, and being the veteranpreneur that you are. But,
trying, man. I'm trying. We get the busiest couple weeks of the year coming up, so I hate to run on you, but you're like, oh, it's this time of night. Well, there's work to be done, so I got to get back to it.
It is. I want to thank our sponsors, Kermode Outdoor Development Group and List 9 Fight Company, Alpha Elite Performance, where you can get 15% off Alpha Elite 15, boohammer.com, Gear for Grunts, Veteran Outdoors, all of them sponsoring us. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in, listening to Byron and us talk, and we look forward to talking to you guys next week here on Stu and the Nunn, 8 o'clock Eastern, here at stewandthenunn.com. Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Have a good night, and have a great weekend. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Kermode Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, and List 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and boohammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.